I wanna see his guiding light. I'm seeking Zion, I'm seeking truth, I'm searching for the way to find my place with you.
You guys okay?
Okay. Good to be here.
I saw someone earlier, a lady who had like a mystic symbol on that.
The Book of Mormon is real, legitimate, and we do have archaeology to back it up. It's all over North America, particularly in the eastern half. So let me just make sure to do a quick check here. I got things that are working. Okay. Parallels in the Book of Mormon. That's my big key word. You know, we can't, you really can't prove it. I mean, I could hold up an artifact and I know it's made from a Nephite, but I can't prove it, right? So we have to call them parallels. That's been my big thing all the way through. Parallel, parallel, parallel. And just to get us off, I want to remind about our timeline, which is very important. The Hopewell, for me, are the key. If we take the Hopewell away, there is nobody that we can use to support the Book of Mormon archaeologically. There just is nobody. Nobody can match like these guys can match. And there you are. Of course, that's our timeline from the book. You can see how close it goes. And the best part about it all is, like I said, the non-Mormon archaeologists of the East, non-members of the church, they're the ones that have established this matching parallel. We didn't do that work. They did the work. It's all there. It's always been there. And I want to tell you that my life really changed in 1988. This is a guy who has become a real mentor for me, Dr. James Shares, University of Wisconsin-Madison. I have learned so much from Jim. Today, he can't go out in the field anymore, but mentally, he's sharp as a tack. I just talked to him 2 days before I came over here, and he was just calling to wish me well and what's going on. And this is my mentor. He's just been an awesome guy, awesome guy. I wish he could roll back his years. Gonna lose the guy, but anyway, let's just continue on here. Jim brought to me in 1988. He asked me, he came to my house in Lake Mills, Wisconsin. He said to me, he said, "Wayne, what do you know about the Michigan artifacts?" And I said, "Never heard of it. No idea." He said, "How about Michigan relics?" "Nope, haven't heard that either." "How about Soper Savage collection?" I said, "Nope, haven't heard that either." He says, "Okay." He said, "I want you to know that the church you belong to in Salt Lake City, they hold the largest collection of the Michigan relics." And I said, "Okay, what are they?" And he begins to explain to me what these things are. And I was like, wow. I said, I'm thinking, why aren't they on display? Well, man, I walked into a hot potato out there. It took me, I think, four or 5 years before I actually got to see the Michigan tablet collection. I was just going through all these channels through the church, and I was always getting a bum steer. Well, you got to see this guy on the 5th floor. You got to see this guy on the 7th floor. And I mean, I was up all over the tower building out there in Salt Lake. You know, I couldn't find the right guy to get to, but eventually, of course, I did. But what I want you to keep in mind here, the first relics appear in 1846 in the U.S. Now, hang on to that. It's very important. 1846, United States of America. All right. And they were so numerous. I mean, they were everywhere. Estimates are conservative at 10,000. 10,000 artifacts, main state of Michigan. A lot of guys have got them up to as high as 30,000. 30,000 all over coming out of Michigan. Now, in 1919, this whole thing will kind of just fade away, but we're going to see some things before we get to that point. Here's something that's really interesting. I can know today that we can verify the Michigan artifacts were found in 27 counties. Now think about it. These are burial mounds, mostly cremated. Some bone matter is found, but there's always these little strange objects, usually plates, but also just some little doodads, cups and bowls and things we don't know what they're for. Weapons, swords, axes, they all show up, and they all have that mystic symbol on them probably about 98% of the time. And so Henriette Mertz comes along and writes that book called Michigan Artifacts. mystic symbol. And in this book, it comes out, she identifies it, of course, the mystic symbol. Now, nobody picked up on this, what it really is. They thought this was a Greek or Aramaic writing, just saying King of the Jews, that, that was over the cross, right? Up on top when he got crucified, King of the Jews. They thought that's what this was. And that's where it stayed for quite a while, but we'll get there. So it stands for deity or God. It also can stand for son of the right hand. I'm going to show you just a little bit of that. God and son of the right hand. Script has many Coptic characters. Now, Coptic, please file that away too. It's very important because I got a Christmas present last November from a Native American about Coptic, and we're going to get there. Just hold on. So Coptic is extremely important. Whoops, wrong way, sorry. All right, next one. Coptic. Okay. Finally, I got into the Museum of Church History in 1994. I'm really excited. I get to go see the artifacts. I took along my friend David Deal, who had already been studying these before Jim Shares told me about it. And Dave and I got to be real good friends. And we got to go into the church archives on Redwood Road, about 4 blocks off of the Temple Square. And we saw a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff. Let me just tell you about David. David, he could read and write Hebrew, Coptic. He could also go, he was into Paleo-Hebrew. So, I mean, he was very well versed. So to have him there was a real treat because he could see things in the tablets. And they only gave us 2 hours, by the way. We were trying to look at all this stuff, and I'll show you how many they are in just a minute. But again, the Yod Hey Vav was the main thing all the way across. There is a fourth sound, and I don't want to say it out of reverence to the Hebrews, the Jewish people, but you can figure it out if you look at the writing up above. Anyway, this is David, and of course you got to read it, right to left. That's the Yod, the Hey, and then the other one. Now, in the plates that we saw, David really liked the flood scene. The flood scene, that's what this is. You look up here, you got the all-seeing eye of God. Here's your Yod Hey Vav right here, Yod, the Hey, and the Vav. And we don't know really what's going on here, but here you can see the rain coming down. People are drowning, which shows a building. And then down here, David told me just figure this out. It took me about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. I just didn't think it was so simple, right? I'm looking over the squares. Well, there's 4 blocks here, 10 blocks there. What's 4 times 10? And 4 times 10? Well, it's got to be 40 days and 40 nights. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? So I'm in a pivot for now. I mean, I'm cruising, right? So here the ark is in the water. Here the dove. The dove gets released right here. And of course, here they land. True order of prayer. Hands over the head. Okay. And coming off the ark. What these things say here, we're not sure. We don't know. But anyway, this is typical of the Michigan artifacts. And there's a lot of these going on. Beautiful calendars. And this is lunar. These are the lunar cycles here. And what's really interesting up here, 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, goes all the way around, 13 dots. 13-month calendar. Lunar, Mediterranean, Israel, Egypt, all of them. 13-month calendar. Here it is, North America. And there's many of these. They're very well done. Very, very well done. You won't see it in this one, but they also had copper compasses to inscribe the circles on the stones. And that's in the Michigan plates in the collection. A lot of stuff where I can just try to touch them. This one here was David's favorite. This top up here is completely accurate Egyptian hieroglyphs. Written in the right, correct manner, horizontal. Remember that when David talked about the transcript, the ancient transcript, he said that transcript should have been written horizontally, just like you see on the top. And he's right about that. That's excellent. So this scene right here, no doubt, is being described here in hieroglyphics. It's also being described down here, right here. So nobody has spent time on this except Deal. But if a couple of pigophers really work on this, I think they could really crack the hieroglyphics plus this down here. This is the one you got to really work on so we could read this. Had these come out, these came out 2 years after Joseph passed away. I should say murdered, right? I think he could have read this bottom half like a newspaper. I really believe that. And at the top now, here's the black and white. If you go to the bookstore, pick up Budge's Egyptian book, they tell you what each one means. Now, the question is, you get 4 or 5 guys, and they're going to decide the transliteration, the sentence structure. What does it actually say? How does it flow? Which words go first, the vowels and verbs and all that kind of thing, okay? So, but this is it, budge. We know what this is. Nobody has worked on this because they've had such a bum rap academically. Nobody will touch them. Nobody, not at all. All right, you get a drink here. Sorry, real quick. Okay, fall '94. Whoop, wrong way. Fall of '94, I get asked to go to a men's club about like this at about 200 people, and these are guys will be guys nights out. They got a back bar, they're having fun, but they always had a program. And the guy that was in charge was a subscriber to Ancient American, and he asked me to come over, and I said I would. So I did. Now this time I probably had 900 slides, and I showed probably maybe a couple hundred. And just clicking through them, boom, de boom, de boom. I didn't know much about it, didn't much to say, but they liked what they saw. Anyway, when I finished, I told them this was the Soper Savage collection here, which really didn't mean a lot. But the main pictures that I had came from Milton R. Hunter at the time. Now, Hunter was the first guy that was given all of these artifacts, about almost 1,000 of them from Notre Dame. Missionaries ran into them tracting. It was a priest. They had them in storage, and he said, show these to one of your leaders in the church, and we'll ship them. And Milton R. Hunter took them. He got the whole collection for free. I mean, it's incredible. So anyway, these are black and whites that Milton took himself, and I'm just going to show you just a couple because of time and space here. But again, here's that beautiful calendar. You can see the dots real well, all the way around 13, the Ojibwa symbol. This is a box. The box in the corners is held together with copper. This is copper. Copper here, copper there, copper up there, and lip soft. Beautiful, beautiful things. Now, I'm going to show you one really good piece. We're going to look at it, the whole thing. This right here. This one here is about 4 feet long. A solid black slate. Take a look at it, and then we're going to break it down into 3 parts. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Let's take a look. Here's the first one. This right here is spiritual creation from the Old Testament. Here's the all-seeing eye of God. Man's on his back, hasn't been brought to life yet. Here we got the birds, the animals, we got fish in the water, we got plants. Okay, so this is spiritual creation. This right here is some part of the Holy Family. The only place I've seen 4 is in the Hebrew Kabbalah. And I wish Schulman was here. We could ask him what's that all about. I'm going to have to run him down at the hotel. But here we go. We got father, mother, we got father, daughter, son. And then here's part 3. Now here's temporal creation. Okay, here we go. Here's Jehovah standing up on his feet. Mystic symbol. By the words of his mouth, the lines connect. You see, moon, sun, all the way down. Everybody gets a line. Creation. So what we have here, very simple. Genesis 2, 4 through 9. Not too bad. Okay, but this is all junk, right? Some farmer said the state of Michigan classifies these as Michigan folk art. So during 1840s, 1850s, now they're coming out of the ground. Farmers are finding them, 27 counties, but at night they're sitting on the slate and they're just tapping it out in the cabin because they had nothing else to do with these, Boy, I tell you, it's a stretch, man. It's really a stretch, okay? So anyway, now, this is really cool. At the end of my presentation in Golden Valley, through the crowd, here comes a guy. I'm telling you, he was at least 6'4". He was Indian. Big guy. And I thought, oh, man, I showed something I shouldn't have shown, or I said something I shouldn't have said. And up on the wall, I had the big symbol of the Yod He Vav, okay? He comes up to me and he stops right in front of me. I'm looking up at him like this. And he sticks his hand past my head and says, he points at the mystic symbol. He says, that's our stuff. And that's what he's talking about. Okay. So he had my attention. I'm still looking up at this guy, And I said, well, so what can you tell me about this? He said, this is the name for a creator. But oftentimes it can mean both. But he says it's creator. We use this for creator in our Medewan lodge. I said, well, what native are you? What tribe? He said, I'm Ojibwa. And he says, I'm in training to be a medicine man in Minnesota and Wisconsin with Eddie Benton. And I know Eddie. I met him. He's a holy man out of the Medewan Lodge. So I knew he was telling me the straight deal. So I said, well, can you tell me anything about this? He said, yeah. He said, you read it right to left. Yod, He, Va. And I said, boy, that sounds a lot like Jehovah. He said, well, that's what it is. It's Yod, He, Va. Okay. So anyway, that night driving home, I'm just, all this rushed through my brain. And next morning, I pumped out 2 letters, one to a guy who was an epigrapher in Massachusetts, and a second guy who was a epigrapher in Utah, who was a member of the LDS Church. It took about 3 weeks. I got an answer back from both of these guys, and they said, you'll find your answer in a book called The Keys of Enoch. And it's a tetragrammaton of Father's sacred name, comprised of the Yod, the He, and the Va. Yod, He, Va. This Indian was telling me the straight deal. This was legitimate. This is not King of the Jews in Aramaic, okay, over the crucified Jesus. This is the Yod, He, Va. This is the real deal. So how did the cuneiform get here in America? That's the next step. This was 3000 BC. Well, who brought cuneiform here? Jaredites. They had to bring it. It's just that simple. They had to bring it. All right. So then, second visit into the church. This was really very interesting. I had been there now probably 7 times talking to the curator, trying to get permission to bring some people in to see the Michigan relics. And finally, I got permission. It's Dr. Glenn Leonard. He's really a nice guy. I mean, no problem with him. But I remember the big question he asked me, and just think about this for a minute. We're talking across his desk. He says to me, he said, Brother May, he said, how did you know these things were here? I thought for a minute. So I said, the only people that don't know these things are here are members of this church. And he sat back for a minute. I said, everybody out east thinks you guys are hiding something. Put them out in the open. You got a museum, show them. They're gorgeous. He said to me, this is the Museum of Church Art and History. It begins in 1830. We can't show stuff that's before 1830. That was my answer. Can't do it. So anyway, he gave me permission. I had a conference out there in Provo, Utah at the same time. I mean, just a couple months later. And I brought all my speakers. We all came in. And that's what you're seeing here. So we're taking pictures. These are my pictures of the racks. I mean, there's just stuff everywhere. I'm just going to show you real quick and get through this. I got another one to explain the rack here just in a minute. This is Michael Smith. That's his right-hand man. Really nice guy. Matter of fact, Michael was on some kind of an assignment in Wisconsin, south of La Crosse, and he called me up on a Saturday night. I was really surprised. Hey, Wayne, this is Michael Smith from the Church Museum. I thought, whoa, what's up? And he said, I'm on assignment here in La Crosse, and I got to go to church in Viroqua, and I don't know where it is. Well, jeepers, get a map, Mike. Come on. Anyway, whatever. I told him how to get. There's a little branch in Viroqua, and that's where he went. So I don't know what's going on, but I wanted to see here. This is half. This is double. You got to double this. This is 4 feet wide, 8 feet long, and there's 2 of them. And their Michigan artifacts are on every shelf, all the way down. The big slate tablets are here on the bottom. You can see them laying here. Big slates, copper, all kinds of stuff. I mean, just unbelievable. Great stuff. Just show you a couple of shots. This one here was my favorite. Not too long after, about a year, 2 years later, I found out the church wanted to get rid of the collection. I hired a lawyer, sent him in there to see what we could do to acquire it, and they wanted to make sure it had to go to a museum with an existing curator, brick and mortar museum. Well, we couldn't come up with that. I asked him, I said, please keep this one back. Please keep this back. This is a rendition of the 10 Commandments. This is the only tablet I saw that shows Father's face. And this over here, this is son of the left hand, and this is son of the right hand. We're showing both players, right? Okay, here it is. This is all 10 Commandments, but they didn't. It went to Michigan too. So here's some of the guys taking pictures of all the artifacts. We had such a ball. We got to stay here 6 hours this time. 6 hours. It was crazy. And this one here is another 4 foot long plate. It's got the creation on both sides, all 7 days, front and back. You roll it over. some of the guys at the farms in BYU, they thought these tablets, the reason they had them in Michigan is that the farmers, the early pioneers now around the boondocks, they're getting slate to put on their roof, so they're log cabins. And I said, man, if I had a roof with 4-foot slates on my roof, it would collapse. There's no way it would hold the weight. And who can buy all that slate? These guys are out in the hinterland, you know what I mean? So I got to give tribute to Ron and Jeff Garf. I brought them in on trip 3, and we had a great time. And they did a lot of photographs of them, and I got a lot of their photos. And then here I am with my big help. This is Milton Hunter's daughter. Linda was helping us. We're trying to acquire them, and we were using her family to go back after, because Milton gave the artifacts that he got from Notre Dame to Church Art Museum and History with the stipulation they were never to leave Salt Lake City. And I thought about that for a long time. I thought, well, eventually well, let me tell you this, but I really believe at this time, Milton R. Hunter in his life was switching from a 2 Cumorah guy to a 1 Cumorah guy. And he did not want these things to go to Provo, Utah. Okay, he was concerned because he knew how much they hated these things. So they're all fake to those guys. Here's Linda again with my friend, Dr. Jim Shears, quite a few years younger. Couple of pipes, elephants. We got elephants all over. Elephant pipes in the plate. And the pipes, there's probably, I bet there's 50, 60 pipes. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. They've all been used. You can smoke them. You got jars. This guy here, this one is mine. It's back there on the table. And they're made out of clay. Very interesting. This right here, if you look at it, it's right back. This one is mine. It's back on the table. If you look right here, you've got a guy holding a shepherd's crook. So it's got to be probably a king. And we have 2 women. This one here is leaving. This one here is holding a baby. This is Solomon. The story of Solomon and the 2 mothers fighting over the child, right? So again, because we know the scene, a good epigrapher should be able to take this apart and be able to understand the characters and start building an alphabet that we can use, but nobody will touch it because of the controversy. They will not touch it, okay? And there's another one here. Look at this here. These guys actually took, this is sandstone. They carved the letters. They're backwards to press into the clay before they bake the tablets. So this is their typeset. This is their typeset. Isn't that awesome? I mean, this is just absolutely terrific. And we got, of course, got a couple of copper ones as well. Hard to see because of the coloring. You can see them well. Got a nice looking building. Nice looking building there on the bottom. You see here, top, down, over the door, right? Yod Heva, over the doorway. Okay, and we got copper saws, hardened copper saws. A lot of the plates show saw marks, and that was another reason they said, oh, they got to be fake. They don't have saws in those days. They can't have that. They're not as smart as we are. We're wonderful, right? Okay. If I could put you guys in my pocket, drive just right here in Wisconsin and a couple of places in Michigan, I could show you about 50, 60 swords, all from right here. Not in the museums. And you know why they're not in the museums? The museums won't take them. Native Americans didn't make swords. Therefore, it has to be modern manufacture. That's truth. Truth is stranger than fiction. This is one of my favorites. I had this in my hands, and Dr. Leonard was there on the floor, and I said, hey, look, I want to put this on my head, take a picture, okay? He wouldn't let me do that. We all wore gloves. We had gloves on to handle the artifacts. And so he thought, the hair and the oil. But if you look real carefully, you see the hole. These are holes. So this had something, sewn onto it, cloth, some nice fabric, whatever. The mystic symbol is right here. There were 4 crowns like this in the collection. Baskets. Got chisels. They said, well, this can't be right. It's an 8-sided chisel. I have one of these myself. I've had it cut open. I've had it examined. It's Michigan copper, and it's very, very old. It hasn't been smelted the way they smelt copper today. It's old and different. And this one here isn't this a beauty? Yeah, this is mine too. I got this. This is my collection. I just love this one. It's just gorgeous. I think what we're seeing here again is the two brothers, Lucifer and Jesus, right there, below the thing. This is the back side. Here, these are all slate, by the way, just slate. And here's another one by Hunter. I want to show the calendar. Beautiful calendar. This one here for calendars, this is probably the most intricate one that I've seen out of the 700 pieces. I mean, it's just absolutely a work of art. It's gorgeous. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Just beautiful. Someday we're going to be able to read all this stuff. I don't know. But Brian, you have to get busy. Get busy. Again, another flood scene. Zipping down. All that good. And this one here, solid script. Brian, that'll be a good challenge for Brian right there. I'll have to mail that one to him. Some kind of a temple scene. And again, another calendar. And then we've got a few stone artifacts in the collection, just made out of stone. And check this one out. Look at that. Any thoughts? Sure. And this is an axe. Okay. All right. Now here comes the hammer. Fall 2004. I caused the problem with my magazine, but had I not done so, you people would not have seen the images in my magazine of ancient American, because now we've got hundreds of people calling in the church headquarters asking to see the Michigan artifacts. So what did the church do? They gave them back to Michigan. The whole collection, gone. And today it's back in dark storage. They keep about 20 of them out, as you can see, and that's it. You can't see them. Can't see them. Louder? Asking to see them.
People were asking to see them.
Yeah, that's why they got rid of them. Controversial. They didn't want to be in a controversy. They were given to him for free by Hunter. He willed them to him upon his death. It was in his, okay. And I can tell you some more stuff about the will, but I don't want to get into it because it's unfortunate. Now,
did they even attempt to talk with the Algonquin and
no,
see if they wanted the artifacts?
no, nothing. They actually considered throwing them in the dump. And that's the truth, because I talked to Leonard about it. I had two guys with $50,000 ready to give that to the church to buy the collection, and they wouldn't sell them. They got them for free, you know. I mean,
I think I remember reading somewhere, hearing somewhere that Elder Maxwell used to think of them as kind of an embarrassment to the church.
well, it's very possible. There probably a lot of them thought the same thing. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So now the cover-up. I don't know what happened, but I kind of think part of it was the Civil War. Now, these things are coming out 1846, 1850s. Civil War breaks out, and we have a lull in the archaeological interest and record till things really don't fire up till like in the 1870s. There's a big lull, okay? Things kind of just get tabled, right? I don't know how it happened, but that's just my best guess. But here's what's going on. Now, the Michigan archaeologists, they put out new documentation saying these tablets were all found by two men named Scotford, and they did find stuff in 1890, and all of a sudden now the Michigan artifacts are back in the news again. But nobody's talking about the old dates. Scotford, 1890, they now are credited with digging up every Michigan artifact in Michigan. 27 counties, I remind you, okay? Now, let me tell you how foolish this is. And I have sent all this into the state archaeologists in Michigan. Everything I'm going to show you. Every state, I don't know if they still do it. They used to do it because my parents used to get them for Wisconsin. At the end of the year, they have a book, like an almanac they put out. I don't know if people, they still do that today? I haven't seen one. I don't know. But in Michigan, they did that. And look at this. See here, October 1890. This is what they're telling you. This is when they're all found. No exceptions. Okay, now let's go here. 1890. Okay. Dr. Halsey, head archaeologist, he said the first relics were discovered in Montcalm County, Michigan in 1890. He's totally disregarded the date of 1846. Totally. This is his words. by the itinerant sign painter, James Scofford. He's even knocking him under the bus. They consisted mostly of unfired, crudely modeled clay boxes. What about the slay and the copper? I don't know what happened. Mysterious symbols, when brought to attention of experts in linguistics and ancient writing, they were consistently pronounced as frauds and unconvincing ones at that. Head archaeologist, state of Michigan. Him and I are not friends. Okay? Now, that next year, 1869, which he could have read, 21 years has passed. 21 years before, look what happens. Michigan relics appear. This is in 1869. 1869. Okay? How come he didn't see that? Pretty bad. Check out this one. The American Antiquarian Oriental Journal was a magazine, and it was highly used. It was Pete was the editor, highly respected guy. Now, he puts in an article by Francis Kelsey, who was calling these things a persistent forgery. They're not going away. They're all junk. He puts his article in, but then we're going to quote Pete. Here's what Pete says. Editorial note. Long before the first date, 1890, mentioned by Professor Kelsey, we, editors of the magazine, we knew the existence of and examined personally many of the same kinds of finds that's mentioned in the above articles. Mr. Franklin of Crystal, Michigan, had a collection so large that he at his own expense built a separate building to house all the artifacts, clay tablets, slate tablets, copper coins, caskets, pipes, figurines, idols, and many axes and points. What do you think of that? Halsey's not talking about this. Not a word. I sent it to him. He didn't reply. And unfortunately, our boys out west are marching lockstep with Michigan. This is why the church jettisoned the artifacts, because they asked the scholars, what do we do? And they said, send them back. Get rid of the controversy. Okay? Now, Scoffers were supposedly the ones that dug up everything. Not true. Not true. That's right here. Charles Allen. Okay? There he is. He did all the digging on this one. Where's the Scoffers? They're not there. They're not there. And I'm just saying, listen, I can show you 12 of these, okay? I'm just going to bounce around. And then on the north side of the St. Lawrence, Michigan relics are showing up. This guy here did the first translated, tried to translate this. He had tied it to a Urger language from Asia. It's not that great. But anyway, he had this plate in 1856. And then, even better than that, we find it out here on the Monhegan Island. It says right here, 1898 publication called Relics of the American Mound Builders by John Campbell, professor at Presbyterian College at Montreal. Down here, the stone is covered on both sides with the same cuneiform-looking language of the Michigan artifacts, along with the mystic symbol. The Monhegan Island stone is documented as being the first studied in 1856, roughly 34 years before 1890. Super Savage items started to appear. I view this information as monumental for the veracity of the Michigan artifacts. Now, check this one out. In 1890, by Cameron, president of the Summer School of the Science for the Atlantic Province of Canada, that stone, also on Monhegan Island, has been known since 1812. Mystic symbol, 1812. I sent this to Dr. Halsey too. And I sent them in separate letters. So you can just throw one away. Bing, 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 bing. And I did hear back from him. That's another story. All right, so here we go. Here we have 78 years before 1890. We got all this extra evidence. It's all been ignored. I'm here to tell you these things are legitimate, and I'm going to give you some more stuff here. This guy started in 1848 because they were found in 46. He was some kind of a tinsmith running through Michigan, and he picked them up. When the Civil War broke out, he was in New York City with his little wagon and dog and pony show, and he was charging 5 cents to walk through and see the Michigan plates in his wagon in downtown New York. And then he built a museum in I think it was Indiana, 1907, and unfortunately it caught fire. Most of them were burned. A few were saved. And then this guy, Philip Shupp of Chicago, he had 5 pieces that remained. And then this guy here, Guthrie, he's a big guy. I really like him. And he said, we need to go back, spread them all on the table, just like Fred Ridholm says, and we need to examine them all. Look at them closely. It's never been done. The archaeologist the church hired, I met him personally. I'm not going to tell you his name. He told me that he personally examined every artifact in the collection, and they're all frauds. And I said, there's just no way. There's just no way. There's no way. All right. Do we have testimonials? Yeah. There's no Soper here. There's no Savage here. No Scotfords here. Testimonials. When they were found, who saw them, they signed their name on it. Here's another one. Testimonials. Testimonials. Don't we work on testimonials? Yeah, we do. Right here, this is Chief Kabogam. This is his grave in Marquette, Michigan. Now, what I'm going to show you on the second slide, you've already seen today, it dropped in, but I'm going to show you how neat this is. Here's Chief Kabogam, Ojibwe chief. Here's a Michigan relic. How about that? Pretty stunning, I think. Them Scotfords, they were slick guys, you know. 1846, when all these stuff came out of the ground, the Scotfords weren't even born yet. But they got credited for a whole collection. Everything. Now, here's the bad news. The daughter of the Scotfords actually signed an affidavit that her father had made at least 100 artifacts. And I don't doubt it. I would say absolutely very possible. There's not a museum on God green earth that hasn't got trouble with replicas, frauds in their museum. This goes on. And they're really bad in south of the border because the Inca and the Maya stuff can be clayed out. It's made out of clay. It'll look pretty good stuff down there. Beware if you're going down to buy. Beware. But even with the bad news, I got something better because here comes my present from last November. Okay. Serpent River Nation, Ontario Band of Ojibwa, November 14th, 12/4. This is off my email. Brian Lee wrote, subject, linguistic proof to support your work. He's talking to me. Hi, Wayne. I am an Ojibwa language speaker and am in the process of recording my findings that the Ojibwa language is Coptic-based. Coptic. Remember that first one? Coptic. I'm going to just hold it here. There's that first slide. Remember that? Coptic-based. Coptic-based. Deal and Mertz said this is a Coptic-based language. And now I have a Native American telling me that this is a Coptic base. Oh, let me go back. Sorry. Going the wrong way. No. All backward here. I can't get back. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. I'll figure this out. I'm not that dumb. Yeah, we'll get there. This is all good stuff. All good stuff. Hold on. Right? There. Okay. Coptic base. I was watching a program about the Michigan relics and agree that most are likely real. Please email me or call me as I live in Canada. Well, believe me, him and I, we are bosom buddies right now. All right. And he's working on it. He's working on it. I'd say sometime soon, within the next 12 months, he's going to be able to have these artifacts. He's going to be able to break out at least maybe some simple sentences. I mean, this is, now let me tell you who this guy is. He does all the translating for the treaties in Canada that were done, like 1700s with the British and the French and into the Black Robe time. And then he also does work for the church in Rome, the Vatican, because they hold a lot of records written in Ojibwa tongue by the Jesuits. This guy is sharp as a tack, okay? And he called me up. That's my Christmas present. Awesome, awesome. Now, let's go here. I'll go past this, okay? No. History of the Ojibwe People, William Warren. You can get this book from the Historical Society of Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I recommend you get it. This guy here describes the fight at Hill Cumorah. It's just as plain as day. I'm just telling you how to get it. It talks about the Great War. All the tribes talk about the war around the Great Lakes. They all know something about it. And they're all a little different, but they all mention the big one, the big hill. All right? Now, what's that?
Go back, I want a picture.
Oh, I'm going back, go back. Now I'm messed up again. That one, oh, that one. Is that what you want? All right. Got her? Not yet? Your batteries are out, man. Okay, we got to go. Here's the next one. On the Michigan tablets, we find plates like this that show battle scenes. I'm going to blow that up so you can see it better. Right there. These guys are fighting with each other. And I mean, it's pretty obvious. I'm going to say, here's your Nephites and here's your Lamanites. Bow and arrow. And these guys look what looks like spears, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. Just hold on. Let's go ahead. Here's another one. This is a nice one. This one up here. This is, again, son of the left hand, right up here. And this is son of the right hand. I have a picture of this thing as whole, because this got broke off sometime after I got there. But anyway, and then here's the close-up. More fighting. And this one here we're going to look at again. We're going to focus really on this one right there. We're going to come back to this one, okay? Now, I want you to notice the bows, right? These guys got spears. Now, let's go into the scriptures real quick. We know the Nephites were using the bow and arrow because when Samuel showed up, it clearly says they shot arrows at him. They're drawing the bow. No questions, all right? And Alma, earlier, 49, 4, and 5, it talks about casting arrows. Well, how do you cast an arrow? How do you cast an arrow? Oh, an atlatl, casting arrows. This is the chief weapon of the Lamanites.
Hey, Wayne?
Yeah.
Lacrosse is known to be the war training sport.
Say it louder.
Lacrosse is known to be the war training sport.
Thank you. That's very good. Thank you.
They would use the sticks with the stone
Okay.
and shoot it. And that, I believe it was the war training for the atlatl.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. That's great. But now I'm going to show you this now. This is, you might think I'm splitting hairs here, but I don't think so. I want you to look at this. This is up close. If you look here, the front, it's one line, but now let's go back to the back hand. There's two lines back there. This guy is getting ready to launch an atlatl. That's the throwing stick on the back there. Right on the plate. Right on the plate. So where do we find all these things? This is where they are. Michigan is absolutely heavy. Right here. This is the bulk. This is like 95%. They're all right here. Right here. Got a 2 or 3 out in Utah land. We got a whole bunch up here on the east. I don't know what's in Canada because the University of Toronto won't let me in because I'm not a PhD. I can't see what they got. Dr. Orr is up there. It's his collection. They've got it. I can't tell you if they got 5 pieces or 500. I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't get in the door. They won't let me in. And then, of course, over here, we got a little bit in Ohio. Now, Burroughs Cave is coming on hot. We haven't, until we get this confirmed, I kind of slowed down on this, but I'm here to tell you the artifacts are here, and there's a whole bunch of them with the Yod Heh Vav on it. So, again, supporting, this whole thing. And this whole thing is in right smack dab in the middle of the Hopewell heartland, our Nephites. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's going to come out. It's going to come out. Now, I want to show you the logistics here. Oh, what's that?
The bottom one was in Illinois?
Yeah, it's Burroughs Cave. Burroughs Cave. Okay, now, think about this. Logistics needed to perpetrate the Michigan hoax. You got to cross Lake Huron because the slate is all from Baraga, Michigan. We know where the mine is. Okay, so you're running back and forth the lake. Copper from the Keweenaw is across Lake Michigan where you got to mine the copper, a lot of effort. And then you got to dig burial mounds in 27 counties. You got to manufacture minimum of 10,000 pieces, clay, slate, copper with accuracy, okay? Fakers must know at least 3 ancient scripts, hieroglyphics, Assyrian, and cuneiform. Now, these are pioneers in the wilderness, right? They're really smart guys. Human bones to accompany some burials, as they had to kill some of their neighbors. Create mounds without being seen before 1846. Avoid multiple testimonials from many settlers. Ignore Native American oral history. Well, that's really, you do that all, we're doing that today. Inform Native Americans, Europeans know more about their history than they do. uphold a paradigm, no contact from across the ocean until 1492. Brothers and sisters, this is absolutely the greatest perpetrated fraud by academia on the American public. And I believe that with all my heart. Okay, so what's to be done? I wish Mediga was here. I made this for him. I wish he was here. The Ojibwa Nation in USA and Canada need to claim and retrieve the Michigan relics from the museum at Lansing and at Toronto, Canada, right now. Right now, in America, with UNESCO coming on, I don't know if you know what's going on, but the museums are being hit hard. So the door is open for the Native Americans to walk in and retrieve what they want. And then you got NAGPRA that's been there for several years already. This is the time. They could have all these artifacts and have them put on public display for all of us to see. Be absolutely terrific. So, oh, back up. Sorry, I messed up again. There. What does it take to make a good replica or copy? It takes an authentic artifact. Everybody in Europe knows that. Everybody in Italy knows that. Everybody in Egypt knows that. If you find a real one, geez, don't sell it. We'll make some copies, you know. You got to do that. Yes, sir.
We're looking at it. I've never seen one in real life. Like chalk, or is it scratched?
No, it's carved in. It's carved. It's carved in. Yes, sir. Yeah. Now, last thing here, guys. Here we go. This is my war cry. Columbus was last. Okay. And of course, I report, and you guys decide. Brian.
I hope I walk the path to Zion, where truth and light can guide me through. I seek the face of
Listen,
my
here's the thing. I met with Lance Weaver and his wife just a few days ago, took him to lunch. He's like, Shane, we need to go to Monte Alban. You need to get Trevor. Trevor needs to find him a date. So if you're available and you're interested in maybe going to Monte Alban, send a picture and a screenshot of your best picture to Trevor. He's looking through to decide he's single and available. So he's got to take a date. And he said, grab David and his wife. And I just said, you know what? David probably isn't in a financial position to go. So for those of you who want to help David Douglas and his wife go to Monte Alban and go to Mexico, you can donate. David's going to flash up his personal Cash App. And you can help David go to Monte Alban. We're going to record it, so you'll get some great content from it. Monte Alban.
David's going to get money and I'm going to get women?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what we do here at Vine Media.
And our viewers are going to get a video out of it.
And our viewers get a video out of this. Monte Alban, if you don't know, is a mountain that has been cut off at the top. And it is believed by Lance and actually by me that that is the temple Nephi built. And we're going to go to that site. It's in, what's it by?
Oaxaca?
Oaxaca? Oaxaca? I don't know. But anyways, help David Douglas. My guess is it's going to cost somewhere between $4,000 to $5,000 for him and his wife. So help us raise some money from now. We're planning a trip in November. Help us raise some money to get David Douglas, because we need somebody to be behind the camera, on the camera, recording things, and
nothing will be filmed if
you and I go. There will be nothing filmed, and we'll talk about it. But you want to see this thing? It's incredible. This mountain and this temple remnants on the mountain.
It looks like aliens cut off the top of the mountain.
It does.
Who has that ability?
It does. So David Douglas's Cash App, there it is. He's already put it on there. Let's see, all you Zion Media family, please help us out. Let's get him to be able to come on with us to Monte Alban. Maybe Mike Rigby, maybe you should come with us too, man.
Well,
that'd be fun.
we shall see. That's fine.